The Pinterest Trend Report has arrived for 2026, so let's talk about what's new and what I'm excited to wear from my own wardrobe. Hello trendsetters! Welcome back to my channel. Every year when trend reports come out, I feel a little bit of skepticism because trends can either feel inspiring or completely disconnected from real life. But when Pinterest releases their predictions, I do pay attention because they're not runway guesses, but they're what people are actively saving and searching for, which still definitely means it could be disconnected from real life. Online fashion can be quite different from what we see in real life, but there are some pretty interesting trend concepts for the new year that have me pretty intrigued. So today, I want to talk about the 2026 fashion trends that have actually caught my attention and how I'm thinking of incorporating them in a realistic, wearable way. As usual, this is not a video to encourage you or myself to run out and buy the latest trends. I'll be taking a look into my wardrobe to see what I have that might work, or maybe I'll throw some things on my thrift wish list if I find a trend that really speaks to me. I encourage you, first and foremost, to use what you have if you plan on participating in these trends. Trends, and especially micro-trends, encourage wastefulness and excessive shopping, so let's use what we have first. But also, don't forget the thrift store for some secondhand treasures, where these trends and micro-trends will inevitably end up. And that's always better than shopping new. Let's get into the trends. One of the biggest color stories to emerge for 2026 trends is this family of cool blues. They're icy, pale, misty, almost frozen-looking shades. What I find interesting is how these blues can be loud depending on how you style them, but they can also be quiet and calming. Some of the shades sit somewhere between a statement and a neutral, so it does give us a lot to work with. I think cool blue works beautifully for people who want color without feeling extremely bold. It has the versatility of a neutral to work with so many other colors, but it can also add a great pop of color to any outfit. I've taken a look through my wardrobe to see what I could find to work for this trend. I've discovered this year that I'm very drawn to blue. I have a lot of blue clothing and even blue accessories, jewelry, and even shoes. So the goal was to find pieces that match or are close to these cool icy tones. And the first piece is this blue boxy blazer. It's a bit of a statement on its own, and it is quite versatile in terms of styling. An incredible color combo I've seen recently is pairing dark brown with icy blue, so I wanted to create an outfit along those lines. I wanted mostly brown with that pop of blue for contrast, but I also added a leopard skirt for some playfulness. When I go to choose accessories, I can either stick with brown for cohesiveness, or add some more blue to tone down that one big pop of color. Just your choice of accessories can completely change how your outfit looks, so don't forget to play around with different combos and colors. This next top is more of a cotton candy blue, and as good as it'll look paired with brown, another color combination I really like is this cool blue paired with burgundy. The blue acts as an unexpected pop of color in this outfit, especially if the rest of the outfit remains just one color. Outfits don't need to be fully saturated or fully muted. Mixing different shades and tones of colors can help you find some unique combinations that you might love. In recent years, people have really been playing around more with unique color combinations, which is great because it widens our styling horizon when it comes to our outfits. And this cool blue trend is so easy to incorporate into what we probably already own. It's such a beautiful range of blue shades that anyone can wear, regardless of your style preferences. Another trend I noticed is this renewed interest in utility-inspired dressing, such as khaki tones, functional silhouettes, and pieces that are practical but still feel stylish. I've seen it referred to as dressing for the desert. And this includes things like lots of pockets and structured cottons. In terms of colors, I've noticed tans, beige, olive green, darker browns. Definitely more muted, but a structurally interesting outfit can still be very high on the wow factor. I think this trend reflects how more people want clothing that works for real life, whether that's walking, traveling, or commuting, but they don't want to sacrifice their style for it. As someone who wears colorful outfits more often than not, am I excited for this trend? In a way. I do like neutral outfits as well. As you can see, I'm wearing one. I think earthy and muted color palettes are beautiful. I don't tend to be a utility dresser though, but I have seen this khaki-coated trend veer a little bit into boho, I think because they have similar color palettes. I think I'm more inspired by utilizing the earthy neutrals in a way that works for me, instead of solely dressing in a functional utility type of way, because I would really have to get more pieces for my wardrobe, and that's just not necessary. And anyway, from what I've seen on Pinterest, people are generally interpreting this trend in their own way, from belted blazers to structured pants to very large belts. If you do already have similar pieces or items in this color palette, some ideas for this trend could be pairing structured pants with softer romantic tops, wearing utility jackets over dresses, mixing practical shoes with more feminine outfits. And the key for me is contrast. You don't have to dress head to toe utilitarian, but letting one piece anchor the outfit. And because I don't really own any utilitarian-inspired outfits, I'm going to turn this trend on its head by playing around with the colors, the inspo, and some contrast instead. So here's the outfit I came up with. When I think of dressing for the desert, obviously my snake print bodysuit came to mind, which I happen to be currently wearing. I wanted to stick with these tans, beige, creams, browns. I chose a cream skirt, which does indeed have some structure to it, and holds its shape well. I chose a semi-structured oversized blazer and belted that, as I've noticed belts to be pretty integral to this trend, no matter how people are choosing to wear it. Now for the contrast, I'd normally go with slightly daintier shoes to match the skirt, but I decided to go with brown combat boots, which will act as my utilitarian contribution and contrast beautifully with the more feminine skirt. Remember that the point of these trends for me is to get inspired to use my clothes in new ways. And I really like the outfit. It's neutral, but it's not boring. And I'd love to hear how you would style this trend, if you would at all. There's also a noticeable swing back to glamour, but not in a delicate and minimalist sort of way, which seems a bit contrary to where the Pantone color of the year, which is Cloud Dancer, is urging us to go. This version of glamour feels bold and sculptural, often with a lot of volume, such as strong shoulders and tailored suits, heavier and sturdier fabric, and statement jewelry. Pretty much clothes that take up space and have something to say. As women, we are often told that we shouldn't take up a lot of space and shouldn't be too loud, so this trend is fighting back in the best of ways. There are plenty of people who have been wearing expressive and dramatic clothing and have never stopped, but for many people, fashion has been leaning rather understated. Now it seems to be an interesting mix of adding some drama to an otherwise understated outfit. Some ways that people might be leaning into this is with an oversized suede or leather jacket, and I've even seen vintage fur or faux fur details coming back, and pairing it with more relaxed or casual bottoms. Bold jewelry, and especially gold, is making a comeback, especially when paired with a simpler outfit so the jewelry can shine. Wearing something striking seems to be the trend, and people can interpret that in their own way. And my own closet doesn't lend itself particularly well to this trend because I wouldn't call my clothes glamorous, but more playful and whimsical. So I'll talk about what I'm hoping to find secondhand, which is one of those faux fur jackets that give the look of glamour without the price tag. I think glamour doesn't have to equal expensive, and I like it more for the drama and what glamour represents. It's typically the opposite of effortless, and you're going to look like you put in effort, whether that be your makeup, your hair, or your outfit. And that's fun to me, to dress up in a way that makes you feel good and have the power and the confidence to take on the day. It can also be a small form of escapism of the stresses of the world when you wear that bold jewelry or that beautiful silk scarf. Because when you feel glamorous, it shows. I think I'll need to take a deeper look into my closet to see if this interpretation of glamour applies to anything I own. And I actually did just think of something that would work. It might not be 100% fitting of what people would consider glamorous, but to me, it is very glamorous. This is one of my winter coats, and the blue fur collar on this is just so over the top and dramatic that I absolutely feel glamorous when I wear it. I think because it reminds me of a lion's mane, so it feels pretty majestic. I think pairing it with a red lip or some bold earrings will really amplify the look, no matter what I'm wearing underneath. So you can interpret this trend any way you want. Wear what makes you feel glamorous, not what other people say glamour has to be. Let's check out the next trend. Poetcore is an interesting trend that I'm sure we'll see a lot of in 2026. I'm quite drawn to this one as it feels literary, slightly nostalgic, and cozy and creative. I would consider it somewhat of a fusion between academia and cottagecore because it feels quite romantic and intentional. Common elements for this style include soft tailoring, knits, scarves, and layered textures, and muted, earthy, or dusty colors. You can see a lot of repetitive themes in these outfits, and to me, the original intention was not for it to become trendy, but once something catches on, then everyone wants to dress like that. Which isn't a bad thing at all, unless you need to do a complete wardrobe overhaul to get the look that you want. Anyway, I love this style. To me, poetcore represents introspection and creativity, the life of solitude of many poets, and the nostalgia and melancholy that are often themes found in poetry. In terms of my own wardrobe, I think I could definitely come up with some outfits related to poetcore. As I do have a lot of whimsical and cottagecore adjacent pieces, I think it's just about finding the right combination. So here is the outfit I came up with, and if it's not actually poetcore, feel free to let me know so I can keep working on it. I stuck with a muted and earthy color palette, and I played with textures here with the suede vest, although I'm not sure if the laces on the vest push it more into pirate core. The large collar adds whimsy, and the loafers add a touch of academia. If I were to add accessories, I would probably stick with browns or golds. I like this trend, and a lot of outfits I saw feel very romantic. One could go quite curated in their look, at the risk of it looking like a costume, which isn't a bad thing depending on what you're aiming for. But if you want to apply poetcore to a realistic day-to-day outfit, then you could try pairing a soft blouse with wide-leg jeans, or a romantic skirt with sneakers. There are so many ways to interpret and incorporate this trend, but there's also another discussion we can have, and that's whether or not poetcore is considered performative. I think poetcore can slip into performative territory if it involves carrying books you never plan on reading, for example. Maybe if the outfit is used to signify some sort of trait, such as intellect, instead of just being about creativity. I think poetcore can also be performative if it's just hyper-curated for the camera. And the internet has changed our views on our outfits. It's often less lived in, and more often photographed. Poetcore doesn't have to be performative though, and that typically depends on someone's intention for their outfit. If it's worn out in the world and repeatedly, and not just for content. Just some food for thought, and I'm not trying to gatekeep poetcore. I just think it's an interesting discussion to have about whether an aesthetic is realistic for real life or not. I'd love to hear what you think about this trend too. Am I totally off base, or do you agree with what I say? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I took the Pinterest Predicts style quiz to find out which trend I'm most likely to identify with, and I ended up with broached, which honestly does not surprise me in the least. This trend is not the traditional one brooch pinned on a blazer. It's actually much more playful and experimental. People are starting to use brooches more like styling tools instead of just accessories. They're pinning them in unexpected places, layering multiple together, or changing the way a garment sits. I am totally here for this trend because I have a huge brooch collection. A lot of them are vintage and inherited from my grandma, so I'm excited to continue using them. I love incorporating them into my outfits, and I'm always looking for new ways on how to use them. The most inconvenient part of this trend, though, is taking the time to add a gazillion brooches to your blazer, and then later having to remove them all, but it is a small price to pay for a big impact on your outfit. I think I will make it a tiny fashion goal this year to make more time to add these small touches. One way to style brooches in an interesting way is to pin it at the waist of a cardigan to change its shape. Use brooches as closures on vests. Add brooches to scarves, collars, or hats. Add lots of brooches on blazer lapels, or just spread around the blazer itself. What I love most about this trend is that it invites experimentation, and it doesn't need to look polished or symmetrical. As I said, I have a large brooch collection, and one outfit I particularly liked lately is utilizing brooches as button covers. Pretty much all I did was pin the brooch as close to the button as possible so that the brooches look like buttons instead. All the brooches are different, and they add so much visual interest. And it's a great talking point if people comment on your outfit. In another outfit of mine, I used a single brooch as a closure for a vest that doesn't have a clasp. I think it was such a fun way to add some subtle bling to an outfit while incorporating a brooch in a unique way. Adding brooches to your outfit is such a great way for your outfit to feel more expressive and lived in. And brooches tend to be more personal. You won't often see other people wearing the same brooch. So have fun with it. I will definitely be participating in this trend, and I don't even have to buy anything new. The next trend that is likely to appear in 2026 is lace, and not in a delicate vintage-only type of way, but it's being layered and contrasted and mixed with some unexpected pieces. Lace is feeling very playful these days, and it's not about looking perfect, but more about texture and contrast. In some inspo pics I've looked at, I've seen lace shawls, bandanas, skirts, collars, you name it. New ways to style lace include layering it under a knit or a jacket, pairing it with heavier or sturdier boots for that delicious juxtaposition, using lace as an accent instead of the main focus, such as through a bandana, a scarf tied across the waist, or a lacy collar on a structured blazer. Lace itself is seen as a delicate fabric, both intricate and elegant. So whether you want to add a touch of sophistication or incorporate lace as a larger part of your outfit, this trend is going to be full of contrast and experimentation. And if you're good at DIY, you can often find lace at the thrift store through tablecloths, curtains, or lingerie, and upcycle them into lacy accessories that are personalized to you. I have a beautiful sheer blouse with a ruffled collar, so I decided to play around with an experimental fit so I can try mixing different vibes in this outfit. I created a relatively muted outfit with some playfulness coming from the double belts, although I honestly think that would look better in the khaki-coated outfit. The boots act as a strong contrast against the more delicate lace, and since I'd want to add just a peak of lace, I belted the oversized blazer. I'm wearing a beige camisole under the lace blouse, but I kind of think it takes away from the outfit, so I'll need to play around with this one more. There's a lot of contrast in the outfit even though the colors are relatively simple, and I didn't even add accessories yet. Lace will be a fun one to play around with, and it can easily be found at the thrift store to help make this trend more sustainable. Let me know if you plan on adding any lace elements into your outfits. Those are all the trends that caught my eye when Pinterest announced them, but there are plenty more, so I also recommend that you go check out the Pinterest Predicts page yourself and see if any trends catch your eye that you feel like incorporating into your outfit. In my opinion, trends can be sustainable if we shop our closets first, the thrift store second, or even try renting a few new pieces to see if this trend will work with your style or not. We don't always need to be shopping new for trends, as this encourages the vicious cycle of clothing output in stores. And fast fashion is only getting faster and more detrimental to the environment. So that's something we should all take into consideration, not how many likes we'll get on social media if we have the newest and coolest pants. We can all make an effort to be a little more sustainable with our shopping. Okay, rant over. I would love to hear what you think about these trends that Pinterest predicted. Are they new and unique or overused? Do you have any intention of trying them out? Let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe so you'll see all of my future videos, and thanks for hanging out today. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!